action is required. Such knowledge is a most valuable asset. It may be gained by degrees and put into practice as fast as learned. Power over circumstances is one of its fruits. Health, harmony, and prosperity are assets upon its balance sheet. It costs only the labor of harvesting its great resources. The naturalist who spends much of his time in observing visible phenomena is constantly creating power in that portion of his brain set apart for observation. The result is that he becomes very much more expert and skillful in knowing what he sees, and grasping an infinite number of details at a glance, than does his unobserving friend. He has reached this facility by exercise of his brain. He deliberately chose to enlarge his brain power in the line of observation, so he deliberately exercised that special faculty over and over, with increasing attention and concentration. Now we have the result, a man learned in the lore of observation far above his fellows. Or, on the other hand, one can, by stolid inaction, allow the delicate brain matter to harden and ossify until his whole life is barren and fruitless. Every thought tends to become a material thing. Our desires are seed thoughts that have a tendency to sprout and grow and blossom and bear fruit. We are sowing these seeds every day. What shall the harvest be? Each of us today is the result of his past thinking. Later, we shall be the result of what we are now thinking. We create our own character, personality, and environment by the thought which we originate, or entertain. Thought seeks its own. The law of mental attraction is an exact parallel to the law of atomic affinity. Mental currents are as real as electric, magnetic, or heat currents. We attract the currents with which we are in harmony. Are we selecting those which will be conducive to our success? This is the important question. Lines of least resistance are formed by the constant action of the mind. The activity of the brain reacts upon the particular faculty of the brain employed. The latent power of the mind is developed by constant exercise. Each form of its activity becomes more perfect by practice. Exercises for the development of the mind present a variety of motives for consideration. They involve the development of the perceptive faculties, the cultivation of the emotions, the quickening of the imagination, the symmetrical unfoldment of the intuitive faculty, which, without being able to give a reason frequently, impels or prohibits choice. And finally, the power of the mind may be cultivated by the development of the moral character. The greatest man, said Seneca, is he who chooses right with invincible determination. The greatest power of the mind then depends upon its exercise in moral channels, and therefore requires that every conscious mental effort should involve a moral end. A developed moral consciousness modifies consideration of motives and increases the force and continuity of actions. Consequently, the well-developed symmetrical character necessitates good physical, mental, and moral health, and this combination creates initiative, power, resistless force, and necessarily success. It will be found that nature is constantly seeking to express harmony in all things, is forever trying to bring about an harmonious adjustment for every discord, every wound, every difficulty. Therefore, when thought is harmonious, nature begins to create the material conditions, the possession of which is necessary in order to make up a harmonious environment. When we understand that mind is the great creative power, what does not become possible? With desire as the great creative energy, we cannot see why desire should be cultivated, controlled, and directed in our lives and destinies. Men and women of strong mentality who dominate those around them, and often those far removed from them, really emanate currents charged with power, which, coming in contact with the minds of others, causes the desires of the latter to be in accord with the mind of the strong individuality. Great masters of men possess this power to a marked degree. Their influence is felt far and near, and they secure compliance with their wishes by making others want to act in accord with them. In this way, men of strong desire and imagination may and do exert powerful influence over the minds of others, leading the latter in the way desired. The magnetic persons attract, allure, and draw. They are emotional and capture the will of others. No man is ever created without the inherent power in himself to help himself. The personality that understands its own intellectual and